Ahoy folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So, again, as I said in the last video, these are going to be a little bit shorter than usual because I'm absolutely swamped with stuff and I'm trying to get content out so you guys actually have something to watch and mess around with. So I do apologise for that, but let's jump in and get started anyway, shall we? So, again, it's Psyker week. We're going to be carrying on with the delightful Psyker builds. So, what are we using in this one? We are going to be using the Dueling Sword, the Mark IV to be precise. And as for the modifiers, we're going with damage, finesse, cleave damage, and penetration. Lol. And mobility is going to be our dump. For the perks, we're going with Maniac and Carapace. This is going to help us deal with the main threats, which are going to be Maulers and Crushers, and also all of the Maniac tagged monsters, which are generally just really annoying. Blessing wise, we're going with Riposte for plus 20% critical chance for 6 seconds on successful dodge, and Uncanny Strikes, which gives us 24% rending on enemy weak spot hit for 3.5 seconds, stacking 5 times. So the Dueling Sword, as you all probably know by now, is an absolute beast at doing this, because all of the hits are lovely, lovely jabs to the face. The only one you may have trouble with is the Mutant, because its face is not in the place you think it is. And also the hitbox for its face is slightly skewed. It's actually slightly smaller than you think it is. But for everything else, it generally does pretty good damage, and the more you hit things in weak spots, obviously Uncanny Strikes is going to stack up, and as you dodge, you're going to get that lovely crit bonus. So there you go, Dueling Sword. Next up, we're using the Rifthaven Staff, which is the Fire Staff. As for the modifiers, we're going with damage, warp resistance, burn, cloud radius, and quell speed is our dump. Now, there is some argument whether warp resistance should be the dump instead of quell speed. I will leave that completely up to you. I have no dog in this race. I change between the two. They seem pretty interchangeable to me. As for the perks, actually no, we'll go back to the modifiers for a second. What you do want, and always want at max, is burn and cloud radius. They are the two most important modifiers. The other three, you can change around as you wish. Probably don't change damage, but if you really want to, you can. I'm not your mum. I'm not going to put little notes in your lunchbox. Do what you want. Perk-wise, we're going with increased crit, because crit does stack very well with Soul Blaze. That does actually make them tick for damage. And flak armor, because flak is the most prevalent armor type in the game. Blessings-wise, there are a few different choices here, and I will give those to you. I'm currently still using Penetrating Flame, lol. Direct hits apply 4 stacks of 1% brittleness for 5 seconds, stacking 20 times. Brittleness is rending you apply to a target that the entire team can then benefit from. So rending is applied to you, and you therefore do more damage in the case of Uncanny Strike. The rending is applied to you, so you do more damage. Brittleness is applied to the target, and everyone benefits from that. So it does go really nicely with this build. And next up is Warp Nexus. Gain between 5 and 20% crit chance based on your current level of peril. So I will quickly go over the other choices you can go for if you don't want Penetrating Flames. Lol. Where the hell is it? Be good if I was actually in the ranged weapons, wouldn't it? There we go. So if you don't want to go for Penetrating Flame, lol, you can also choose Blaze Away, which just gives you a flat strength buff. So 8% strength for every 10% of magazine spent during continuous fire, stacking 5 times. It's pretty good, you know. It's just a flat strength buff. I mean, the rest of them, they're not super interesting. It would generally be, for me, between Penetrating Flame, lol, and Blaze Away, possibly Warp Flurry, but it's not super necessary anymore. So between these two. And next up, we have the Curios. As you can see, I'm using twinned Curios here, both 17% toughness with 5% toughness, 4% combat ability regeneration, and 20% damage resist to gunners, because gunners are one of the most dangerous enemies to the Psyker. They will shred you almost instantly. At least with melee enemies, you have the ability to block, dodge, and backpedal. But with gunners, you know, you're just a bit stripped, basically. And the last one is a max stamina with 5% toughness, 4% combat ability generation, and damage resistance to gunners. Pretty much what I use on the Psyker all through these builds. It's just my preferred way of using it. You can take one of these off for a health cure if you really want to, but I just find the toughness works a little bit better. Right, let's jump into the talents. We'll start over here on the right. Metal. Critical hits replenish 5% toughness, also grant 5% increased movement speed for 4 seconds, stacking 3 times. And then perfect timing. Warp damage for 3% warp damage for 10 seconds on critical hit, stacking 5 times. Replenish 5% toughness for each 10% of perils quelled. Perilous combustion, killing an elite or a specialist enemy, applies 3 stacks of soul blaze to nearby enemies, causing damage over time. I did say this in the last video, but I'll repeat myself here. Soul Blaze, Bleed, Infernus, and anything like that is very, 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 very powerful at the moment because they're not getting done in with as much diminishing returns as everything else is. So they're actually working a lot better than you think they are, which is enabling you to put out a fairly easy dot or damage over time ability, which is doing, well, it's punching way above its weight. And it's enabling you to basically death by 1,000 cuts everything. So they're very good to go. I know they don't look great when you're first looking at them, but overall they are outperforming what they should be doing. Not for any bug or anything, it's just what they're performing at the moment. It's just they are very good. Toughness boost into Brain Rupture. We are only taking the Blitz ability here. This is going to be our long-range sniping ability, and basically that's it. It's a good ability. I mean, it's not stupid overpowered like Assail or Smite, but it does exactly what it says on the tin. It'll kill an enemy by bursting its brain. Peril Generation into Psychedelics Aura, decrease the ability cooldown of unit allies in coherency by 5% on elite or specialist kill. Into Toughness Damage Reduction into Seer's Presence, 10% cooldown reduction on ability for unit allies in coherency. Into Toughness Damage Reduction, and we're picking up one of the Warp. Game Toughness Damage Reduction of 10 to 33% based on your current peril. Empathic Evasion, a critical hit makes you count as dodging against range attacks for 1 second. This is quite a highly stacked crit build. And then we're picking up Telekinetic Shield. Spawn a Psychic Shield in front of you for 17.5 seconds. The shield blocks enemy range attacks while unit allies can shoot through. Then we're turning this into a Dome. And then we're turning it into a Sanctuary. Allies inside your Telekinetic Shield replenish 10% toughness each second when you... What? Replenish 10% toughness each second. When your Telekinetic Shield dissipates, all allies gain 50% toughness damage reduction for 5 seconds. Sorry, that was just badly spoken. There you go, 5% crit chance into Kinetic Deflection. While below critical perils, blocking an attack causes you to gain peril instead of losing stamina. Just going to give us a bit more survivability. Into the health boost, into picking up Warp Rider. Deal up to 20% damage increased as your perils increases. Into Peril Generation, picking up Solidarity, increases quell speed by 30%. Into Toughness Damage Reduction, into Penetration of the Soul. Lol. Plus 10% rending on warp attacks when above 75% perils. This is going to work very well with the staff and the amount of brittleness we are applying. So we're going to be ignoring a lot of armor. Then into Toughness Boost, and then we're picking up Warp Siphon. Killing an elite or specialist enemy gains you a warp charge for 25 seconds, stacking 4 times. Your next combat ability spends all available warp charges to reduce the cooldown of that combat ability by 7.5% per warp charge. This is talking about the shield. Then into Empyrean Empowerment, increases all base damage by 4% for each warp charge. Just a flat damage increase. Into In Fire Reborn, killing an enemy with Soul Blaze has a 10% chance to grant you a warp charge. A lot of our damage is going to be applying Soul Blaze. And then Warp Battery can store up to 6 charges, which will increase our damage by another 8% on top of this. So it is a pretty simple build to use. You are going to be basically setting everything on fire, applying lots of lovely brittleness to everything, and generally making a nuisance of yourself. You are the crowd clear. You are here to deal with all of those pesky little gribblies, while allowing the more focused targets, say like the Zealot or the Veteran, to take out the big hard-hitting targets. But it doesn't mean that you can't help, because with the amount of rending and brittleness we have in this build, we can apply lots and lots and lots of that to targets. But also don't forget, you are a moving Bastion. With the amount of combat ability regeneration and with our Warp Siphon, the bubble's going to be off cooldown a lot of the time, so you can literally just keep chucking this down and keeping your team safe. There you go. Fairly simple build, but very effective. It's a very, very classic Psyker build. This was one of the ways to play back before the talent trees even got looked at. Of course, without the shield, but I hope you enjoy, folks, and if you do, please do like and subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It really does help us out, and I shall see you all for the next one. So until then, take it easy, and I'll see you later.